Hello class, my name is Erin Matsukani. I'm Mrs. Matsukani's daughter and I was a teacher as well. I taught high school 10th grade literature. Anyway, I heard you guys are reading The Smallest Dragon Boy by Anne McCaffrey this year. It's a short story in the fantasy genre and I love all of Anne McCaffrey's books and I read them all. So my mom asked if I could help do an introduction, and as I am stuck home with two little toddlers, that sounded way more exciting than what I was going to do. So I am excited to help do a little introduction to the world of Pern, where the story is set. Okay, so let's get started. Also, forgive the weird like lighting and stuff. I'm in my husband's office and I am very low tech person. So yeah, just ignore some of the lighting issues. Okay, all right, bye. All right, so our story is set in the world of Pern. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background into her world that Anne McCaffrey created. So here's Anne McCaffrey. She's a sci-fi and fantasy author. She's award-winning, Hugo, Nebula Awards, and she's super famous for her Dragon Riders of Pern series. There's like 20 plus books. I love them. This is my favorite. But they, very good, but this story you're reading is just a short story, a little glimpse into the world. So I'm going to give you a little background so it's easier to understand, okay? So in the beginning, this is the history of Pern. So Earth people were very, very tired of like the way their world was going. So it's super high tech, lots of pollution, war-torn, people fighting over power. So a group of colonists decide that they want to start again. So they actually go ahead and leave on some sort of spaceship. All right, this is my spaceship. Okay, and they're going to go out of this planet, and then they're going to find a world called Pern. Okay, now this when they land on Pern, they decide to create an agrarian society. So that means like farming, low tech. So they leave a lot of their technology behind because they want to go back to their roots, okay? And it's a very remote planet because again, they're trying to get away from all this like war and gruesome stuff, okay? So, huge whoopsie. What they didn't realize is that when they landed on Pern, there was another planet. I'm going to call it the red planet because, you know, it's red. And it orbits in the same solar system. And every 200 years, like I'm not really good at orbit. So I'm just like, I want you to use your imagination, pretend this is an orbit. So every 200 years, it swings close to Pern, okay? And they're thinking, oh, this is a nice red planet close by. What a nice neighbor. This is not a problem. Well, wait, it is a problem because 8 years into their colonization of this new planet where they're like, oh, Pern's great. All of a sudden, these weird silvery threads start like raining down. So I want you to imagine like weird silvery ribbons just like raining down on their, new colony, and it kills all organic life. So I'm going to tell you more about threads in a second because that's kind of what they call it in the story. But they decide, wow, this is a huge problem. It's killing everything. So they're limited tech because remember, they're trying to get away from tech from their old, from Earth. So they have like very little tech and they really can't save themselves or fight. All right, so here are some of the terms. Now, I gave you access to my PowerPoint, so you don't have to take notes. It's going to be in your in the PowerPoint, okay? So like I said, every 200 years, that red planet comes close enough. It swings close enough to Pern, all right? And then when it passes, it stays close for about 50 years, okay? And they call this the pass because it, passes close to Pern. For those 50 years, the spores that come down, they call that rainfall of spores. Okay, they call that the fall because the threads fall to the earth. Okay, everything is very literally named, okay? These spores, called threads, because again, they look like silvery, ribbony threads falling to the ground. They're some sort of like acidic base, and they eat and burn through all organic substances. So think, like pretty plants, they're dead. Okay, if you think of, oh, I have this nice cotton shirt, it's gone. All right, people, oh, there's my neighbor, nope, gone. Okay, and then even like their animals. I can't draw a horse, so I want you to imagine that this is a horse. All right, we'll give him a little smiley face, and here are his four legs, and that's my horse, and now he's also gone because the threads cut through everything. Okay, and when the fall happens, when these threads fall, it's 50 years of fall, all right? It's 3 days, 6 hours each day. So it's like this like really gruesome thing that they have to deal with. Okay, so their solution, they notice, because again, they don't have tech, they notice that there are these little tiny fire-breathing lizards. Like, imagine I said tiny dragons. Okay, I'm gonna bring this up a little closer. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? Okay, so imagine these like little tiny dragons. And they just like spit out fire, and the threads that are raining down just like disappear. And so these colonists realize, wow, so this is pretty much the way that we are going to combat the threads. So they decide to take these teeny tiny little dragons. Oh my gosh, I cannot draw dragons. No. Okay, imagine. No. Okay, think little dragon. Okay, imagine that looks like a dragon, okay? They take these little tiny dragons that are about the size of lizards, and then they genetically engineer them to be giant. So if you think of like a man-sized person, this dragon is now, a huge beast of a thing. Okay, like huge beast of a thing. And then women and men, the colonists, they learn to become the riders who are going to help ride these huge genetically engineered dragons to fight the thread. Okay. All right. This is on the PowerPoint I sent you guys. So these are the threads that are coming down. Again, they look like silver ribbons. And this is a picture of a bronze dragon flaming those to ash. So this is where we come to my favorite part. Dragons. Yeah. So this is part of the reason I read the series, is like I love dragons. So they are highly intelligent creatures. They do this thing called, they impress. So this is a vocabulary word within the book. It's a completely made up term by Anne McCaffrey. And that means that to impress someone is to form a telepathic and emotional, connection between the dragon and their rider for life. And I talk about it in terms of like sharing a soul. Okay, so it's like the dragon is one half and then the rider is the other. So if one is hurt, the other is hurt. If one is sad, the other is sad. If one dies, the other dies, that kind of thing. Okay, so it's like this unbreakable bond. Okay, so when the little eggs, when they hatch, the first thing they do is they look for their rider. Okay, so boys and girls are trained at a young age to be around these eggs, and as soon as a dragon hatches, they're trying to find their boy or girl. So these boys and girls stand around until the dragon, oh my gosh, I can't draw a dragon. Okay, finds their person, okay? And when they make that match, it's called to impress, okay? And then they can communicate with their rider telepathically. So that means from mind to mind, okay? So if we could do that, that'd be pretty cool, but we can't. So that's a little bit of the science fiction coming into play, okay? It goes from mind to mind. And then they chew firestone. It's this like type of, it almost like looks like charcoal, and they chew it up and they digest it, and then they can breathe fire. And that's what they flame, the flame out of their mouths basically disintegrates the thread. Okay, so they fly around spewing fire to like dissolve the thread in the air. Okay, and then there's this one other word they use in this world, and it's called to go between. Okay, and I'm going to give you more information on this next page. Okay, I couldn't even come up with a picture for this page because it's such a weird concept. So it's the between is a dark dimension. I don't know if any of you watched Stranger Things, but it kind of reminds me of like the Upside Down. So it's like this dark dimension that is super cold and you can't see anything. It's just blackness. Okay, it's just like blackness all around. You can't see anything. All right, and then the dragons are able to travel into this dark dimension to get from one location to the next. So let's say they have to get from point A to point B, okay? And so to walk there for a human, let's say takes them 1 day. To fly there by dragon wing, again, sorry, I can't draw dragons. Okay, to fly there, let's say takes them 5 hours. All right, go from here all the way to here takes 5 hours by dragon. If a dragon goes in between, from point A to point B, it takes less than 1 second. It's really quick. So to the outside person, if you were watching a dragon, they would appear here, then all of a sudden they would just disappear and they would reappear here the next second because they travel in this in-between dimension, okay? It's a really fast way to travel, like I mentioned up above, and dragons can go in between to freeze thread off them. So let's say one of those like silvery, like acidy threads, if it lands on your dragon, you don't want it to sit there because it'll burn through the dragon's wing or whatever. So if a dragon gets it on its wing, it will suddenly go between. The thread will freeze off in that cold dimension, and then they can pop back out again. The dragon can pop back out, and then it's like, oh, thread's gone, all right? But the only thing is don't get stuck there. And there's like a couple stories where a writer who was like kind of immature, they're like, oh, I can learn to go between, and then they do it, and then they get stuck there, or they like go missing forever. So it's like a little bit dangerous. All right. So there's females and males, right? The females are always gold and green. The males are always blue, brown, and bronze. So the smaller dragons, it means that they're more agile. It means that they're faster and they can maneuver quickly. But the bigger they are, it means that they have more stamina. So there's like, pros and cons to being larger and smaller. But the gold dragons are the girl dragons, and they're the only ones who are fertile. The green dragons are not, even though they're girls, they can't lay eggs. So the gold ones are the fertile ones. They're the largest, as you can see here. Let me hold this diagram up a little closer. Okay, they are the largest, and you see right there, that's a person, okay? And they are considered, like they're very rare. So they're called like the queens. Let's just draw like a little crown on her head, okay? She's the queen, all right? And all the other dragons will obey an order from the queen, okay? So they're like the highest on the hierarchy, all right? And then I would say next would be the bronze here, which are male. They're a little smaller than the female. They are also very rare, and they usually become the mate of the gold queen. But again, reiterate, they're very rare. So more commonly you see like brown and brown and blue and green. There's like a ton of green. And then this is irrelevant unless you decide to read the series, because there's like one white dragon in all of Pern history. But anyway, so here you are. All right, so next, the dragon riders. So you're a dragon rider for life. So you are a child. When you were a child, okay, I think like really small kids, there's like a class of them, right? And so all these kids live in, it's almost like a boarding school. So they don't live with their parents, they live with other little children, dragon riders, and they're trained in these homes, like in this like area, and it's called a weir. And they're in old extinct volcanoes. All right, so old extinct volcanoes, and they have all these different like cave pockets and like grounds, all right, around where people like fly and train and they live in those caves. And this whole system is called a weir, all right, trained at a very young age. And then they hope to impress a hatchling on the day that the hatchling is born. But if they're, again, they train for this their whole life, and not everybody gets a dragon. So when they get a dragon, it's considered quite an honor to be a dragon rider. And you train, again, it's like your whole existence. You live with the dragon, you sleep in the same like cavern as the dragon, and you become like one of the leaders in society, okay? And then this is also for my PowerPoint for you guys. So this is like living in a weir. So here again is the extinct volcano, and you see that there's like systems of caves here, and this is like where they hold like different types of like assemblies and maybe the hatchling grounds, and they train all along here, okay? And then this is like these are people who like drew pictures of what they thought Pern would look like. So this is like a dragon rider's quarters inside of a cave. This is the example of like inside the volcano, so kind of like a bird's eye view here. And then again, a different type of illustration
like the bird's eye view of inside the volcano.